Hello and welcome to Odds Checkers coverage of the NFL Draft. We're doing a little collab with the 33rd team. What's going on? I am Matt O'Leary. I'm joined by Dead Prez Picks, John Hyslop, and Mike Tannenbaum. We have a busy show for you today. We're going to be breaking down our favorite markets here for the NFL Draft. Before we hop into today's show, just wanted to let you guys know Odds Checker is doing an NFL Draft prop pick sheet this year, which you're going to want to get in on. $500 worth of prizes. To enter, just click the link down below in the description. First prize $350, second prize $100, and if you place third, $50. So it's not a winner take all. You have multiple chances, and it's absolutely something fun that we're looking to get into over here at Odds Checker. So like I said, we're kind of just going to keep it light, bounce around our favorite markets. Let's toss it over. We're going to go Dead Prez Picks first. What's jumping out to you? What markets you want to get into today, sir?
So I'm going to look at the quarterback spot, Mike Willis, over 9.5. We were talking a little bit before. I think Carolina's a realistic option up there. Also Atlanta at 8. I could see them going in the quarterback direction. So I like his value there. It's at -140, so you got to drink a little bit of juice. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Pickett go to Carolina over him. But, again, I think Atlanta there might be looking for a quarterback as well. So I think there's two realistic options for him to go in that spot. So I like that play there at -140.
All right, absolutely. So let's go down to John. What's your first one jumping out to us?
I still think there's value on Trayvon Walker to go number 1 overall. He was at 350 recently. I see you shaking your head, Mike. But that he was at plus 350 recently, and somebody knows something because Aiden Hutchinson has been the guy for all this time. But I'll remind you that GM took Alden Smith over J.J. Watt before. He also took, Cam Jordan. There was a long list of people that he took Alden Smith over. I'm not saying that Walker is Alden Smith. I'm just saying he's an athletic freak that, kind of his ceiling looks a little bit higher than the Hutchinson guy. So at plus 190, you can always just sit there and hope for the best and maybe get a better number on Hutchinson later on.
Mike, I saw you shaking your head. Can we get a former GM perspective on the first two takes so far and maybe something you like too?
Yeah, I'm disappointed in the mediaification of Mike Tannenbaum. I used to be a nice, open, sort of minded person who was a thoughtful listener. Meanwhile, I have this Pavlovian dog instinct. I hear Trayvon Walker and I start saying no. I've been on this podcast for 10 seconds and I just have scars. When you take a guy in the top 10, you want him to have the prototypical size, production, character, and there's a lot to like about Trayvon Walker, guys. But to me, gosh, I just don't see it overall. I just didn't see the production as a defensive end. I don't see the quick twitch. I see a really good football player. I see great measurables. I see great character. I just see a good football player. To think that he's going to go number 1 overall would be shocking to me.
Here's the thing, though, Mike. If I could tell you, it doesn't really matter what we think, though. When you're betting the draft, you got to think about what Balky thinks from the Jaguars, and that's the part that always scares me. Is guys see something completely different than what we see, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what we're betting, though.
Yeah,
but I agree with you.
He watches tape.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they all do. Every single one of them do.
I love it.
But yet every year there's a guy that you're like, wait, why did he take him? Every year. But a bunch of guys watching tape.
Yeah, I don't think the Eagles watched tape when they took Jalen Reagor.
Hey, this is this year though. So what do you got though, Mike?
I think Hutchinson goes 1 overall. I think he's a really good player. I don't think he's a great player. I think he's a guy that isn't Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa. Certainly he's not Myles Garrett. I think he's a really good player that has a really high floor. I don't know if he has a dynamic ceiling, but I think you look back and say, wow, I'm really glad he's on our team. He makes guys better. I would be surprised if he was the number 1 pick, because when you look at it from a big team building standpoint, guys, they franchised Cam Robinson for the 2nd consecutive year, so that tells me they like him a lot. They signed Brandon Scherf. So from a resource allocation standpoint too, you think, okay, they're going to go defense, and you could make an argument about Kayvon Thibodeau, the talented pass rusher from Oregon, and you guys are making great points about things Trent has done in the past. But my gut just tells me that when it's all said and done, they take Hutchinson.
All right, and you're making me feel a lot better about my Trayvon Walker takes, by the way, with your thought process there at the top of the draft. Someone that I personally like a little bit better than Trayvon Walker that I wanted to get into right now is Jermaine Johnson with his draft position under 9.5 is -102. I think there's going to be a little bit of a run on edge rushers, especially at the top. There's a bunch of teams that I could see looking to get in on it. Obviously, the Jaguars at 1. I think Lions at 2. You could even probably make a case for the Texans at 3 and obviously Jets at 4. So that's 4 teams right at the top of the draft. And, who knows with some of these later teams like Atlanta or even Seattle at 8 and 9. I mean, there's an outside chance they go with one of those positions too. And for me, Jermaine is the talent wise and ceiling, I think, is extremely high to warrant a top 10 pick. I think the value wise at almost even money at -102 is pretty good value there. So I like Jermaine to come off the board pretty early in this draft, something to keep an eye on. Let's bounce it around again. Dead Prez, you got anything else for us here you want to get into?
Yeah, so I went under 6.5 wide receivers in the first round. I just can't get to where I see 7 going. Obviously, London, Wilson, Williams, Burks, and Olave. That's 5 there that I anticipate obviously will go in the first round. But then after that, I don't see how we're going to get 2 more. The guys with the next best odds would be Dotson there, and then Christian Watson, Sky Moore. But I think maybe one of them sneaks into the first round late. But I don't see how we get to 7 wide receivers going in the first round.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you on that. John, any other markets you want to hit?
I'm going to go with your team, the Jets.
There we go.
Pick 4. Kayvon Thibodeau was just plus 300 yesterday. You can get him plus 275 at DraftKings. You can get him plus 200 at FanDuel now. So, I mean, he's getting steamed. I think they like him. I heard Dan Campbell doesn't necessarily like him personality-wise. Like, I don't know how much truth is that, but Albert Breer put that out recently. So let's say Walker and Hutchinson go 1 and 2. We'll just call that. I think the Jets go edge rusher with the 4th pick, and that kid was supposed to be, getting number 1 hype at some point. At plus 300, I'm saying at the price, that's not a bad bet. Although, I mean, you are pigeonholing yourself, but again, you're getting plus 300. I mean, there's a price for everything, and I think the price is right on that one.
Absolutely. Mike, do you buy into some of those rumors with Kayvon Thibodeau falling because of character issues?
He's a complicated guy. I think he has a chance to be really good, guys. He has really tremendous get off, really good length to be a prototypical NFL edge rusher. I try to, I'm typically a benefit of the doubt guy. My glass is half full typically. I didn't like the fact that he told teams at Indy during the meetings that he was going to do everything and then didn't. Now, you don't kill somebody for that. That's not a reason that he slides dramatically, but I've been there, guys. Like, you go through this 11-month progress, very rigorous, and you're sitting there and you're trying to make a very thoughtful, meaningful, decision for your franchise. And sometimes you say, hey, which guy do you think is going to, the standard we always say is would they walk on glass backwards? Would they play football in a parking lot? When you cut them in half, what oozes out of them? Are they a world-class competitor that care deeply about their teammates and want to win and have rare mental and physical resilience so they can have a meaningful career and help us get to where we want to go? Those are discussions you're having. And when you look at the balance of his body of work, you have to say, is it more reasonable than not? Those things are going to happen.
Okay. Absolutely. Good perspective there from Mike. Do you have any other markets that interest you in this draft, Mike? I know we talked a little bit earlier about the first overall pick, but is there anything else jumping out to you that you think is a go?
For me, the quarterback's fascinating, guys, because when you look at the value, the juxtaposition of what a rookie first-round quarterback will cost compared to the veteran market, I could see 4 quarterbacks going the first round, even if, you look at it and you say from an ability standpoint, that's 50-50 whether or not that should be the case. But if you go back to recent history, guys, if you focus in on pick number 32, Lamar Jackson was picked 32, Teddy Bridgewater was picked 32. So if the 4 of us were running a team and we were picking, call it whatever, 35, 36, 37, it really would make sense to pay somewhat of a premium on quote unquote the trade chart to get up to 32 to get that 5th year, because the amount of money you could save is so consequential. Just to put it in context, you may like Derek Carr, you may love Derek Carr, but Derek Carr is $40 million a year, and no one here is going to sit here and say he's a top 5 quarterback. You probably say he's really good, he's somebody you can win with, but when you look at 35 to 40 between a Cousins and a Carr, and you say, wow, that 5th year could be $20 million, you're saving $20 to $25 million 4 years from now. So think about if we were running a team and we had a competitive advantage of $20 million more dollars to spend than our competitors, what would that be worth? Probably be worth at least a 2nd round pick. So that's why, to me, some team is going to come up and take a quarterback at 32. It could be Detroit, who currently has 32, meaning if they don't take a quarterback at 2, which I don't think they will, I think if I'm them and I'm looking at somebody to compete with Goff, that's really the ideal spot to take one.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, if you're Detroit at pick 32, you think it's worthwhile to take, I don't know, for instance, like your edge rusher up top, and then maybe like, I don't know, a Corral or a Sam Howell or someone, or Desmond Ridder, if he's there at 32, go that route instead?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. This is a number of years ago, but we saw Cincinnati do that. They took A.J. Green at 4, came back and took Dalton at the top of the 2nd.
Okay, absolutely. Now, the last one that I wanted to touch on, and then we could see if anyone else has anything else, but the Giants at pick 5, Evan Neal to be the 5th pick is plus 300. Value-wise, I think that's pretty solid. And looking at the new regime over there for New York and trying to build up that offensive line, if they want to see what they have with Daniel Jones, I think they need to dramatically improve that line. Maybe it's Aquanu that ends up going there, but I think he ends up being off the board before the Giants are picking at pick 5. So I like the value there with Neal at plus 300 going to the Giants. But all right, boys, anything else? Any other markets we want to get into before we go? I'll take that
if you wanted to hedge Detroit taking an edge rusher, knowing what we think we know about what they think about Thibodeau, you could go Trayvon Walker plus 300, number 2 overall. So now if he goes 1 or 2, you make money. The only problem is you can't do your Thibodeau. I mean, I guess you could, but you are literally pigeonholing yourself into, exact picks on, multiple guys, and they all kind of correlate too, since they're all edge rushers. So you got to watch what you do there. But if you wanted to hedge it out, you could easily take that Trayvon Walker. I bet you that number goes way lower before the draft gets here.
All right, absolutely. Something to keep an eye on for Mike, Dead Press Pick, John Hyslop, and me, Matt O'Leary. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure to check out the NFL draft prop sheet. We have it linked down below. Check it out. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.